In the recent Bashar session called Open Contact, he goes into what will happen in the next 5 years, starting from now. So basically until 2030 or around that time. And he had some pretty good, interesting new developments and new predictions, but it wasn't really predictions because he didn't give a percentage. He basically talked about this like it was a sure thing. I never heard him this sure about anything, and he seemed very optimistic about it, like something has happened behind the scene that he also talked about. That's, there's been some developments that now they can say for sure that in the next 5 years major developments will happen. And he said even in the next 2 years you will see an increase of UFO sightings, but not the regular boring kind. He said that there will be, it will most likely manifest as giant UFOs positioning themselves around coastal cities right above the coastline, right outside the coastline of major cities or across the world. And these UFOs will just be statically stationed in that position for a very long time, or a longer time, so people can actually travel to go look at them. And they will just sit there and do nothing and be non-threatening. That's the idea, because people are supposed to get used to the ET presence and not feel threatened by it. And he also said that military helicopters and whatnot will probably surround these UFOs and things will happen like that, but that's just part of the show, he said. So that's a pretty major deal if that actually manifests and happens within the next, he said it could happen as soon as the next 2 years, but at least within the next 5 years. In the upcoming time, basically, in the upcoming 5 years, you will have these UFOs, real daylight, in full display UFO sightings, that's rarely ever happened before, at least not on a global scale. I'm not sure if this is going to happen, if this is a surprise that's supposed to come in late 2026 or early 2027. It could be. It fits the time frame, definitely. It's smack in the middle of the next 5 years, so it could be that. But at least he said that pretty soon you will have these UFOs stationed across the world, and they will just sit there, and there will be people coming from all over the world to see them, obviously, and this will obviously make a lot of waves and major upsets and changes in the world and signify big changes coming. And he also said that you can expect also to broaden your horizon into more thought density, like perceptions, like you will soon, or within the next 5 years, you will be able to see or perceive beings like spirit beings and even ETs that maybe not everybody will be able to see. Only those who are sort of on the leading edge of this ascension will first see these beings and whatnot. So you shouldn't be surprised if you see ETs or spirit beings in the coming years, because your level of consciousness will be increased and your perception will broaden to be able to perceive into more fourth density reality. He also talked about that, and basically within the next 5 years, most likely towards the end of that time span, all the governments, or at least all the major governments of the world, will be contacted by ETs. He said most likely the Pleiadians first, and the hybrids first, and then maybe some other races or whatever after that. But that's also a major development. I mean, he was super confident saying this. He didn't even mention the word prediction or anything. He said it like it's a completely sure thing, that it will happen within the next 5 years. And the reason is that so much has been going on behind the scenes that now we are finally, ready for actually the real deal to start to happen. I mean, obviously these 5 years are just the first step to open contact, but things can probably and will probably develop rapidly after those 5 years. That 5-year period when the world has been more and more adjusted to the ET presence. He didn't mention, how will people react? Right now it seems like a large percentage of the population are not really, they don't even know about ETs and wouldn't believe in it almost even if they came. But I guess they will, a lot of people will change in the next 5 years, or you will shift into a a different reality in which more and more people will be ready for this, because otherwise they couldn't be able to do it, right? So I guess the splitting of the prism, or the splitting into a parallel reality Earth, is finally going to happen for real. Like now we're in the middle of the chaotic period of the split, and at some point within the next years, then we will finally find ourselves on an Earth that's much more ready for this kind of thing to happen. Otherwise it couldn't have happened. I mean, he's always said that they can't impose themselves, they can't, force people to believe in them and force themselves upon us. So, if they come and pose like this, then it's a pretty big deal for most people, and especially those who have no idea about this and are not ready for it. So, and I think, even people who think they're ready for it might not be quite ready for it when it actually happens, because imagine seeing a massive UFO right outside, you're on the right outside the sea or the beach or whatever coastal city, like, he showed a picture of it, and it was like you could see it clearly from the beach, like a massive UFO. So that's what he's proposing or saying will happen. So definitely it looks like it's going to be more exciting 5 years than I thought a while ago. I mean, I thought everything was postponed now for decades, because that's what he seemed to say before, but now it looks like things have changed, or maybe that was always the case. I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood, maybe he didn't communicate it, but now at least he seemed very optimistic about it. He seemed very, happy, like almost more happy than he usually is in this session. Like they finally had some kind of breakthrough, and he even mentioned that so much has been developing behind the scenes that we are not aware of, that finally now things are going to pay off. Like everything we have gone through to get to this point is finally going to start to actually manifest for real. So definitely it's going to be an interesting upcoming 5 years, and we're just going to have to wait and see and what happens. But I think there must be some kind of shift into a different world at some point, at least. Maybe it's going to happen gradually, but at least, I mean, most people are not ready for this at this time, as far as I can see. I mean, most people have no idea about it still. So I guess there has to be some kind of development. I have no idea what that will be or how it will work, but I guess it's going to be sort of a gradual kind of thing into splitting into different parallel Earths, until people who are part of this is going to be part of that reality. Well, those who are not are basically going to be part of a different reality. I have no idea exactly how that's going to play out, but I can't see this happening in the world as it is now, and that's probably why it doesn't happen at this time also, obviously, because the world things are not ready for it. So it's going to take a few years maybe before these things start to happen. But I just wanted to put this out there and inform people that, hey, big changes are coming, and this is just the beginning. After these 5 years, it's going to be even more developments, and probably more and more into open contact for real. Like they will land and they will share technologies, and we can rapidly start to fix the planet. So it looks like, according to him, I mean, I'm going to have to take his word for it, even though his predictions before hasn't always been accurate until this point. I mean, there has been many predictions, especially about what was supposed to happen in 2020, with the Renaissance and people going through the eye of the needle. I've talked about this before, but I'm not going to rip too much into that now, because it's whatever. I mean, if this actually happens, it's game on. Things are actually going to manifest for real, and it's going to be pretty amazing to see. So I'm really hoping that he delivers on this, or they deliver on this. So this is not an empty promise or some bullshit they find up an excuse about later, that, hey, it seemed to me that he was super confident. There was no talk about 90% or whatever chance of this happening. It was just like a sure thing from the very first mention of it. So there was no predictions. There was just, okay, this is going to happen within the next 5 years, and that's the deadline. I mean, it could happen before 5 years. It can happen, but it's going to happen within the next 5 years, and the whole world is then going to basically know for a fact that ETs are not only real, but they are actually here with us. So a pretty major development. I suggest you go check out that video if you can buy it or whatever. It's called Open Contact. It's a pretty new video from Bashar. It's probably up on the website. You know, people do live stream it. I saw the live stream, but you know, you can purchase it soon at least, and it's definitely worth checking out. My new ebook, Unmasking the Ego, goes into great detail about the root cause of suffering, negativity, and evil, and also how this plays out on the world stage. You also gain complete clarity about the levels of consciousness, and you will discover the fastest way to unconditional love, or the higher 500s on the scale of consciousness. So hit the link below to grab your copy today.